Welcome back to our training series on Cumulocity Edge. In this video I want to show you the installation of Cumulocity Edge with the c8yedge tool, which simplifies the setup and the deployment of the various components greatly. First of all, you want to make sure that your target system is ready for the installation. The target system might be a host or server if you're going to install Edge on a bare metal, or in this case, in your virtual machine like Hyper-V, you want to make sure that the virtual machine is correctly set up. In either case, you want to make sure that the environment has the minimum requirements given in the Cumulocity Edge documentation, which is at least 10 gigabytes of RAM, 100 gigabytes of disk space, and 10 processors for the default installation. Depending on your actual setup, you might have to make sure that you add more resources and that you configure the network correctly. Given all that, we can start with the installation by following the instruction on downloading the c8yedge tool. For demonstration purpose, we were using an Ubuntu version in the Hyper-VM image here, but you can use any Linux system that supports the requirements of Cumulocity Edge. Also, typically you don't want to have a full desktop UI, but rather a slim Linux version with a shell. But for demonstration purpose, I want to show you the Cumulocity Edge installation on the local browser. So first of all, let's start with downloading the c8yedge tool. Just follow the instruction on the web page to curl or get the tool downloaded from the download page to your local machine. Depending on your internet speed, that may take a few seconds since the download is a couple of 100 megabytes, since it will include everything necessary for the installation. Once done, you can check that the tool is available and go on with the instructions. Typically, you want to move that tool to some place where it can be found as in your path. In this case, we're going to just put it into the user local bin folder. Make sure that the install tool is executable via chmod and then move it to a folder where you can find it again. From there on, you can use it as any other Linux tool by just calling it. It will give you a help with the available commands, and we'll continue with the install. As the next step, we are going to run c8yedge install on the machine and let the command install everything for us. For the installation, you will have to set some required parameters. Most important here are the registry URL and the credentials. The Edge installation will pull all container images and other resources from the registry and will use the username and password you give it for the connection to it. You can set these information as part of the command or leave them as default. If you want to check the available options and syntax, just run c8yedge install -h. As you can see, the default registry is registry.c8y.io. If you don't set the option, the installation will assume the default registry and you will be prompted for the credentials during the setup. In any case, you have to make sure you have those information available. For the default registry of Cumulocity, you should have received them via the support. In case you're hosting your own one, you would need to check with your own operation team. Let's kick off the installation. Make sure you are running the command with the appropriate user and permissions. That typically means running the command as super user via sudo to make sure all components can be installed correctly. So sudo c8yedge install. In this case, I'm going to use the default registry and fill in the username and password in the prompt during the installation. I've been asked to enter the username, so I'm giving it that. as well as the password for the registry. At this point, c8yedge will download Kubernetes version for the local cluster. Then it will download the operator, set up the operator with a configuration, pull in all the containers, starting them, and then prompting you with the installation progress. Depending on your machine and the internet connection, this might take a few minutes. You can see that the installation is done once all containers have been started. To verify and monitor your new setup, you can use any tool for managing Kubernetes clusters, which also includes the kube command control. This is installed by default and automatically. So you can use something like kube control, get pods, and give it the edge name as namespace to check that all the pods are actually running. Furthermore, now our new installation should be available via the browser. So typically you would use some external browser on a different system. And I'm using here a local Ubuntu installation with a built-in Firefox, so I can just go to localhost. Upon your first visit, you might be greeted with some warning message about the certificate, which we will have a look at later on. For now, just accept it and continue. You will be greeted with the Cumulocity login page. As the tenant ID, we are going to give it Edge. The username will be admin and the password will be admin-pass. You will be now being asked to change the username and password. So if you're following the default installation, just use the default email address, company@edgebootstrap.example, and type in a new password that follows your password requirements. You should be now able to log in with the new credentials that you just set. And with that, we have already our base installation of Edge completed.